When you have a job, you earn money to spend on the stuff people make, grow, or sell at their jobs, circulating money across the economy. Americans working is what makes America work.
Capital expenditures generate jobs, so it's important to know which companies are doing well at this.
So what's a capital expenditure? Michael Mandel, Chief Economic Strategist at the nonprofit Progressive Policy Institute, explains.
If you're a worker, you cannot do a good job without good equipment. If you're an office worker, you need good computers, good internet connections. If you're working in a factory, you need good factory equipment to do a good job. If you're driving a truck, you need a good truck to do a good job. So capital equipment is absolutely essential for creating good jobs. If you try doing a good job without capital investment, it'd be like crossing a street without your shoes on. Slow, painful, and ultimately not very productive.
Especially if the pavement's hot. So where companies spend money on buildings, equipment, and supply chain is where new jobs will emerge. So PPI keeps track.
For the last 10 years, the Progressive Policy Institute has been putting together a list of the companies that invest the most in the U.S.
PPI calls them investment heroes, and the current list spent big money despite unprecedented uncertainty.
This year's list was focused on those companies that actually continued to invest or boosted investment during the pandemic.
Which is huge because overall American companies decreased their domestic capital spending by 7% in 2020. We're running down PPI's investment heroes for 2021. At the very top, you know them, you might not love them, but you sure can't escape them. It's Amazon.
Our number one company on the list was Amazon, which invested an incredible $34 billion in the U.S. in 2020.
That huge number represents a 75% increase in Amazon's domestic capital expenditures. So 2020 is the year they decided to go big and stay home. So where'd all that money go?
Building out its e-commerce network, fulfillment centers, hiring hundreds of thousands of workers.
Next, let's look at a category of companies that spent big last year. And here's a hint, I'm gonna place you on a brief hold. That's right, it's broadband.
Companies like Comcast and AT&T and Verizon, who spent billions of dollars in the U.S.
Verizon was number 2, investing over $16 billion. AT&T spent $15.5 billion, and Comcast $9.5 billion. The pandemic kind of forced their hand when a lot of schools and businesses went remote.
Strengthening the network and also building it out so that more and more people could work from home, could do schooling from home, could do their medical care from home.
All of which seem to be part of America's long-term new normal. Finally, another category that's all over the top 10 is tech.
Companies like Google and Apple and Intel,
which invested just under $14 billion, just under $6 billion, and $12.5 billion respectively.
And these are companies that help build up the infrastructure of the country that people used during the pandemic.
And beyond. And as for PPI's wish list,
we would love to see more investment in manufacturing. As Americans buy a lot of goods, we'd like to see them be buying goods that are made in America with shorter supply chains.
The companies investing the most in America are at the top of the list.